The American flag was not born in peace. It was born in resistance, fear, and uncertainty. In the late 18th century, the world was dominated by empires that ruled through kings, inherited power, and unquestioned authority. Colonies existed to serve distant crowns, and rebellion was considered a crime punishable by death. Against this backdrop, 13 small British colonies made a decision that defied the global order. They did not simply want better treatment or lower taxes, they wanted independence. And when they chose to fight for it, they needed a symbol that represented something entirely new. Before the American flag existed, the colonies flew variations of British banners. Even early revolutionary flags still carried symbols of the crown, reflecting hesitation and uncertainty. Independence was a dangerous idea. Declaring it openly meant war against the most powerful empire on earth. But as resistance hardened, compromise became impossible. The colonies were no longer asking to be heard. They were declaring separation. And with that declaration came the need for a flag that did not belong to a king, a church, or an empire. In June of 1777, the Continental Congress approved a simple resolution. 13 stripes, alternating red and white, representing unity among the colonies. 13 white stars on a blue field, representing a new constellation. The design was deliberate. There was no crown, no royal emblem, no religious authority. The stars were equal in size, signaling that no state would stand above another. This was revolutionary not just politically but symbolically. The flag did not glorify a ruler. It represented an idea that power could come from the people. To the British Empire, this flag was not harmless. It was an open declaration of rebellion. Flying it was an act of treason. Capturing it was a victory, destroying it was symbolic suppression. From the moment it appeared on battlefields, the American flag became a target. British soldiers knew that lowering the flag meant breaking morale. Raising it again meant resistance still lived. The flag's meaning was forged not in ceremony but in gunfire. This early targeting shaped the flag's identity. It was never neutral. It was never passive. It stood for defiance against authority, resistance against dominance, and belief in self-rule. That identity would follow it long after independence was secured. Even before the United States officially existed as a stable nation, its flag had already challenged the global system. Empires watched carefully. If this experiment succeeded, it could inspire others, and it did. As the United States survived its revolutionary beginnings, the flag began to change. New states were added, new stars appeared. Each addition symbolized growth, opportunity, and ambition. But expansion came at a cost. As the flag moved westward, it did not travel through empty land. It crossed territories inhabited by Native American nations that had existed for centuries. For them, the American flag did not symbolize freedom. It symbolized displacement, broken treaties, and military force. At the same time, millions of enslaved Africans lived under a flag that promised liberty while denying it to them. This contradiction became one of the deepest fractures in American identity. The flag represented ideals that were not equally applied. For some, it stood for hope. For others, hypocrisy. And yet, even within these contradictions, the flag remained powerful. It represented not what America was, but what it claimed to be. The tension eventually erupted into civil war. The American flag became a dividing line. For the Union, it symbolized preservation of the nation. For the Confederacy, it represented federal authority they rejected. When Union forces raised the flag over defeated Confederate cities, it was more than victory, it was reassertion of national identity. The flag survived internal rebellion, proving that it could endure even when the nation itself nearly collapsed. Abroad, this mattered. The world saw that the American experiment was not fragile. It could fracture, fight, and still survive. Empires that once dismissed the United States as temporary began to reconsider. The flag no longer represented just rebellion, it represented resilience. And resilience, when combined with growth, begins to look like power. The 20th century transformed the American flag forever. World War I marked the first major overseas deployment of American power, but it was World War II that redefined the flag's meaning. American forces fought across Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific. In many places, the arrival of the flag meant liberation from fascist regimes. In others, it meant overwhelming military force. Either way, the flag was now global. Images of American soldiers raising the flag in foreign lands circulated worldwide. None more famous than Iwo Jima, that single image condensed sacrifice, victory, and dominance into one frame. It became propaganda, inspiration, and warning all at once. After the war, the United States emerged not just victorious, but dominant. Much of the world lay in ruins. The American flag did not return home. It stayed. Military bases, economic aid, reconstruction programs, and political alliances carried the flag into dozens of countries. For allies, it symbolized protection. For rivals, it symbolized intrusion. For neutral nations, it symbolized a new global hierarchy. The American flag was no longer one among many. It was the banner of the most powerful nation on earth, and power always invites reaction. The Cold War turned the American flag into an ideological weapon. It now stood opposite the Soviet hammer and sickle, representing two competing visions of the future. This was not just about territory, it was about belief systems. Wherever the American flag appeared, it signaled alignment with capitalism, democracy, and U.S. influence. In places like Korea and Vietnam, the flag became deeply controversial. To supporters, it represented resistance against authoritarian regimes. To opponents, it symbolized foreign interference. Television brought these images into living rooms worldwide. Flag burnings became common not because people hated America blindly, but because they understood the flag's symbolic weight. Burning it was a way to reject the power it represented. By the end of the Cold War, the Soviet Union collapsed. The American flag stood alone at the top of the global order. But dominance did not bring peace. It brought scrutiny, and scrutiny would shape the next era of the flag's story. The reason some countries target the American flag cannot be reduced to hatred or misunderstanding. It is rooted in how power is experienced. By the late 20th century, the United States was no longer simply a nation among others. It was a global system. Its military presence stretched across continents. Its currency shaped international trade. Its political decisions affected governments thousands of miles away. Wherever American influence reached, the flag followed, and over time, the symbol became inseparable from the consequences of that influence. For governments and movements that opposed American policy, the flag became the most visible stand-in for a distant power that could not easily be challenged directly. A nation cannot confront an aircraft carrier or a global financial system with bare hands, but it can confront a symbol. Burning the American flag became a form of asymmetric resistance. It required no weapons, no armies, only cameras and crowds. The image alone could travel faster than any speech, instantly understood across cultures. In this sense, the flag was targeted not because it was weak, but because it was effective. Military presence is one of the strongest reasons the American flag provokes reaction. The United States maintains hundreds of overseas bases, more than any other nation in history. To allies, these bases promise security. To critics, they represent occupation or pressure. The flag flying above a base is not abstract. It is daily, physical, unavoidable. For communities living near these installations, the flag can come to represent loss of sovereignty, even if no official colonization exists. That perception, whether accurate or not, fuels resentment. Economic power adds another layer. The American flag is closely associated with the US dollar, global trade systems, sanctions, and international financial institutions. When countries face economic hardship linked to US policy, the flag becomes a symbol of that suffering. Protests against inflation, unemployment, or sanctions often include the American flag, not because it caused those problems alone, but because it symbolizes the system people believe controls them. Symbols simplify complex realities, and the American flag is often used to compress global frustration into a single image. Cultural influence deepens the reaction further. American movies, music, technology, and social platforms dominate global culture. To many, this is appealing. To others, it feels invasive. Traditional values, local languages, and national identities can feel overshadowed. The flag becomes a symbol not just of a nation, but of cultural replacement. Even when American culture is voluntarily consumed, resentment can grow when it feels unavoidable. In such cases, targeting the flag becomes a rejection of cultural dominance, not necessarily of American people themselves. Perhaps most importantly, targeting the American flag guarantees attention. No other national symbol produces the same global response. Media outlets will broadcast it. Governments will condemn it. Supporters and critics alike will react. For groups seeking visibility, the American flag is a megaphone. This is why it is often targeted during protests unrelated to the United States directly. The symbol amplifies the message. In the modern world, attention is power, and the American flag commands it. Inside the United States, the flag's meaning has never been fixed. This internal complexity adds to its global impact. Americans themselves have debated what the flag stands for since its creation. During the Civil Rights Movement, some carried it while demanding equality. Others rejected it as a symbol of broken promises. During the Vietnam War, it flew both above military bases and in the hands of protesters. The same symbol served opposing causes, revealing that its meaning was not dictated by government alone, but shaped by public struggle. This internal conflict is often misunderstood abroad. Some interpret American protests involving the flag as weakness or disrespect. In reality, they demonstrate something unusual, a society that allows its most sacred symbol to be questioned. That openness strengthens the flag's legitimacy in the long run. A symbol that survives criticism becomes harder to destroy. The American flag has endured not because it is protected from dissent, but because dissent is woven into the system it represents. However, internal division also exposes vulnerability. When Americans are divided over what the flag means, foreign observers notice. Rivals exploit those divisions. Images of flag burnings within the United States are often amplified abroad to suggest instability or decline. The flag becomes a battlefield not only between nations but within the nation itself. This dual struggle makes it one of the most contested symbols on Earth. The 21st century transformed the flag yet again. After the attacks of September 11, 2001, the American flag surged as a unifying symbol. It appeared everywhere on buildings, vehicles, clothing. It represented collective mourning and defiance, but abroad, new conflicts reignited old tensions. Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq placed the flag back into regions already sensitive to foreign intervention. For some, it symbolized protection. For others, occupation. The same contradictions resurfaced, amplified by global media. The digital age magnified everything. The flag no longer needed to be physically present to provoke reaction. A single image shared online could reach millions in minutes. A flag burning in one city could trigger protests, celebrations, or condemnation across continents. The symbol became detached from geography. It existed everywhere at once. In this environment, the American flag became not just a national emblem, but a digital weapon used in propaganda, memes, psychological operations, and narrative warfare. In cyberspace, symbols are stripped of context. Images circulate without history or explanation. This makes the flag even more volatile. Supporters see pride, critics see dominance. Algorithms reward outrage, ensuring that the most extreme uses of the symbol spread fastest. The American flag, once sewn by hand and raised slowly, now flashes across screens instantly, carrying reactions before reflection. And yet, despite all this targeting, the flag endures. It endures because it is adaptable. Its meaning shifts with time, place, and perspective. It has represented rebellion against empire, unity after division, liberation after war, and dominance in peace. Few symbols survive such transformation. Fewer still remain recognizable through it all. The American flag is not loved universally, and it never has been. It was controversial at birth. It was contested during expansion. It was feared during global wars. It is challenged in the modern era. But that continuous challenge is evidence of its influence. Symbols that do not matter are ignored. Symbols that do matter are attacked. In the end, the American flag is not just a story about America. It is a story about power and how the world responds to it. It shows how ideas travel, how influence spreads, and how resistance forms. Whether raised in celebration or burned in protest, the flag communicates the same truth. symbols can shape history. And as long as power exists, symbols like the American flag will continue to be loved, resisted, targeted, and remembered.